All right, getting ready. Last show of the season, everybody. Last show of the season. Everybody's piling into the chat today. That's very nice. Very nice to see. Very happy to see you guys here on the last show of the season. For me, at least. There'll be another show tomorrow. John will be doing his show. Just getting ready to come on live here. Another minute or so, just let you guys get here. I'm seeing all these faces. Well, I'm imagining all these faces from all these people that are regulars at the show. Enigmatic Onion, La Nouvelle, William Mindreaders, Jonathan Rodriguez, John H. Kingston III. That says this track gives him dubstep vibes. This is a jam I just made one night. I was just kind of fooling around with the equipment and was going well, and I said, let me just record. And now I use it as his opener for this season. Next season I'll have different music for the opening. Anyway, it looks like it's time to get ready to do this. So why don't we just do this, I guess, huh? Here we are. And here we are. Hey everybody, welcome back. As I was saying in the pre-show roll start screen, it is the last show of the season. Season 3 is coming to an end, at least for me. Tomorrow John has his last show of his season, and yeah, this has been an amazing season. We've grown so much this season. Every season, I remember when we first started, that was rough. If I look back at some of those shows, that was pretty rough. But yeah, we're here at season 3, end of season 3, and things are going well. I mean, I'm very much enjoying this. I've enjoyed the whole trip from beginning to end, don't get me wrong, but it just gets better and better. Anyway, you're watching 343 TV. This is the production Playhouse, Abe Duque's production Playhouse. I am Abe Duque. I am an instructor at 343 Labs, and what we have is a school, 343 Labs, which we teach you guys everything there is to know about electronic music, regular music, acoustic music, recording your voice, making productions on a DAW, Ableton, Logic. I'll teach you some Bitwig if you like. We teach mixing and mastering. We teach sound design, vocal production, composition, pretty much anything we could think of that you guys want to know. We have classes starting all the time, so please come to our website, 343labs.com, and maybe check out the schedule. We have classes starting. I have a class starting on Monday. I have a mixing and mastering class starting on my birthday, actually, April 5th. Anyway, let's get going here. Let me just see who's in the chat. We have a lot of people in the chat, as I was mentioning in the pre-roll there. Seth is here. Rashane is here. Let's see. AB is here. Jonathan Rodriguez. So many people in the chat here. La Nouvelle. Yes, Maya is here. Hello. And if I'm not saying your name, I'm sorry. There's so many people. Shen says shalom. Shalom, I say to you. Luis Javier Valle is here. Hi, Abe. Hi, Luis. Let's see. I was reading something about Enigmatic Onion is here, and he was talking about, hey, everyone, I almost finished my track last night, and live crashed, and I lost 4 hours of work. Got to redo it all today. Oh, yeah, I've been there. I've been there too many times, where you just want to cry. But you know what? The second time you do it, if you still, if you don't wait too long, what my experience has been is the second time you do it, you actually get, you do it faster. You actually get everything done faster and actually a little better. So just get right back in there, get back on that horse. All right, let's have a look at what we were doing. Hey, Max Wild is here. Hey, Max, good to see you. Once again, we are 343 TV, and Max is our fearless leader. He is the fire beneath the flame. Him and Nacho decided to pull the trigger and start this school, and here we are today. Okay, JD says hi, and I say hey back. All right, so let's get going. So last week, I want to pick up right where we left last week. Last week we recorded a bunch of parts and into Ableton, and we were trying to set up something for a track. So let's get back to exactly where we were last week. So let me just open up my Ableton screen here, and I'm going to move this over here so that I can have more room to work here. Okay, so here's my Ableton screen, and I have actually what we did last week. And in the meantime, to save time, because these streams are meant to be an hour long, and so in an hour, there's not much you can do. I mean, Enigmatic Onion was working 4 hours on his track last night, and and then lost them. Sorry, that's kind of sad that happened. But anyway, an hour is just not enough to do much. So what I did is during the week, I spent a couple of hours on kind of sussing out everything we had. So I put this 1 week later. These are the parts that I rehashed. Now, this is what happened last week. So I'm going to just show you what we did last week, just for a refresher to see where we were. I started out with a kick drum. I wanted to keep it simple. And then I recorded some of these parts from, remember that Poly 800 that I had, that synthesizer that I told you guys was one of my favorite first synthesizers. I recorded a couple of parts here, and then I took a bunch of drum racks and we did a bunch of things. So let me just kind of run you through the parts that I had last week. So I started with a kick drum, simple enough. And then I guess I went off and let's see what this is. Okay, yeah. Then I made a hi-hat, kind of a hi-hat pattern there, and then I have it twice for some reason, so I'm gonna just lower that one again. So that's the same hi-hat, and then I have it 3 times for some reason, so I'll just keep that one out of there. And again, this is not the curated one. This is the raw recordings we did last week. And then I had this. So kind of some percussive part here. I took a couple of takes from, I remember recording a bunch of stuff. So if you could just have a look here. This is all the stuff that we recorded, a bunch of stuff. And I was grabbing loops of things that I thought would work out and sound okay. So let's see, maybe there's another one here. I guess that's another one that I decided upon that was working. Let's go to something else here. Well, this one, not, well, maybe I just didn't get to the end here. Let's grab it from the end. Similar to this loop. And I have that. And I have that. And I guess that and maybe this would be the main themes, or the main one that I want to keep. Maybe it was this one here. Then I had this, which just happened there. And then I had this, which I kind of, all of this I was just doing on the fly. Remember, all these parts were parts that I just kind of recorded and then, you know, didn't worry about it, just let myself go and recorded, and then went in there and grabbed, you know, the best parts that I wanted. And this is really fun for me to do, which is just maybe even set your DAW up to record in a quantized mode, meaning all your parts are already time corrected for you. So when you go in there and like and search out these parts, they're all like very tight, and they make you sound like a hero to yourself, even though you didn't play them like that. So there's a few parts here. Let's see. There's this one, and then there was this one. Okay, that. And that. Lots of nice little ear candies here. That's pretty cool, actually. I'll just let that keep going. And then I recorded these takes on my Poly 800. So that was the Poly 800 just kind of doing its thing. And I went off, and let's see. I had a few other parts here. And I had this other part that I recorded from that Poly 800. And together they should do something like this. This is not sounding terrible. It's sounding actually kind of okay. And then let's see what the last part here is. Oh, of course, the bass line. The bass. What would this track be without the bass line? So usually I like to move the bass line next to my kick drum, and that's why. But I guess I recorded it down there and kept it down there. Again, this is not the curated part of this mix. So that's just a reminder now. This is what we did last week. This is how far we got last week. We just collected a bunch of parts. I did whatever I could within the hour that we had, and this is what I ended up. So now I'm going to show you what happened 1 week later. So this is, and I'm going to go part by part. So now, first I started, here's the 808 again, but this time it sounds a little different. You can tell it sounds a little tighter, a little more put together. Let me just show you what I did to process it. So this is the little bit of a processing chain that I have on here. I'm turning it off. That's it without the processing. And this is now it with the processing. And it's subtle, the difference, but it's quite significant. This is a little rounder and a little floppier and a little kind of more muffled. This has more mids and a little more punch. So let me tell you what I did to start. Let me just turn these guys off. To start, I did, so this is one of my favorite tricks. You guys use the glue compressor in Ableton, and Ableton gives you this glue compressor, which is a SSL G series model compressor. It's made by Cytomic, actually, and Ableton licensed it to put it into to their core devices. And this is a great thing because it's an amazing vintage compressor. This compressor is a very true. I mean, I read reviews about it, and there's like UAD has a modeled SSL G series bus compressor, and so does Waves, and there's a couple others, and they did like a head-to-head on all of them, and the Cytomic one was like the one that like beat them all out. So this is it doesn't look like much, like Ableton devices don't look like much. It's not very pleasing to the eye. The GUI or the UI is not that it's just Ableton gray, but the sound and the quality is fantastic. So, and if you guys are using it, make sure to use it in oversampling mode. That by default it's off. I don't know why. It should be always in oversampling mode. You should set it to oversampling mode and then save that as your default preset, so it always will be in oversampling mode. Anyway, so one of the things I love about this is that when I throw it in there, now I've thrown it in there with a medium attack, medium release, and medium ratio. This vintage device, just like a lot of old vintage devices, didn't have too many subtleties in the differences where you in the settings. As you might compare to another compressor, you have very detailed ratios that you could set. Here it's just click, 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 and I always like to say it's like a Fisher-Price compressor for kids, right? So what you get here is a compressor that does something very, very, very special when you drive it a lot. So meaning when I bring down the threshold and the compressor has to do the gain reduction, it doesn't do the gain reduction the same way that the compressor does the gain reduction. It does the gain reduction by actually squeezing the bass out of things. So it kind of squeezes and tightens things up, and the bass kind of gets gone. Which you're just like, well, Abe, this is a kick drum. Why would I want the bass to be gone out of this kick drum? Well, the reason that you might want the bass gone out of this kick drum is because some of the bass in this kick drum is kind of low and rumbly and not really tight and not the type of bass that I'm looking for in the kick drum that I'm trying to make. So I use this sometimes to EQ the low end out of a kick drum, with the mindset that later I'm going to add this bad boy. This is the Pultec Equalizer, and I'm going to pump in some of this magic low end that is actually compressed as well. So I'm going to show you what I mean by how it tightens out your bass so much that it gets out of existence. So I'm going to drive it a little more than it is right now, just to show you how the bass kind of tightens up and disappears. So you can see it's just tightening. Come back, the low end comes back. Super tight. Now, I never really want to use it like that, of course. But what I want to have it is just enough of that boom rumble to tighten out of the way. So then later when I add this bass, that's going to really help us out. So in the meantime, though, I like to drop a little overdrive for some saturation, some hard saturation there. So listen to what happened there. It's a little bit of distortion. Watch. And then together, I can add a little bass back, or a lot more bass back. Watch. Oh yeah, that's it. So now that goes from that, which is probably a little louder in itself because, in order to match it, I probably will have to get it to raise it here. But look at the different texture there. It has a lot more mid-range and the type of stuff that'll make this cut through. Anyway, that's my kick drum. So then, of course, I went then and I wrote a snare this week. I tried not to write too many parts at once. I tried to just, have... Actually, I didn't include anything but this snare. The snare is new. I thought that we missed out on writing a snare, so I just wrote a simple snare just to keep the beat going here. And with the snare, I didn't do much but compress it a little bit with the glue compressor, which I could actually drive it a little more. I just want to smoothen it out. And this glue compressor not only adds this type of compression that I'm talking about, but it also adds harmonics, which are really nice. Okay, so then I took this take of the 303. Now this is my bass line, which I had over there before. I took then this take of the 303, which was, I'll play it for you. And I have a little bit of delay on it now, or echo. And I took that and I actually did something else with it. What I did was I cut it up. So I went over here, if you can see this clip, and I took a bunch of clips at one point, like this part so I made a half bar loop and made it so that I could just grab that part, and I'll just play for you so you see what I mean. So I grabbed that. Now if I open that up, you could have a loop of what you are used to, but I don't want that. I just want that little bit. I found that little bit groove the way that I wanted to groove. And then I found a bunch of other clips with different modulation in there, like this one and this one and this one, and grabbed it exactly in the same part of of the loop there. So if you just watch what I did there. So now I could it's kind of fake modulating acid because you just switch to the next one, but it's actually really recorded acid. It's, real-time recorded acid. So I get a chance to, like, maybe later when I'm doing my arrangement to have this acid kind of present itself. And then maybe a low one. I think I have a second one that's low like that. That was a nice little bottom to it. But my favorite one was this one to begin with. So I'm going to keep that one for now. So now let me show you how I process that. A glue compressor, the same thing to kind of take care of the floppiness on the bottom and just tighten it up. And then, of course, adding the Pultec again to it. So listen to it without the Pultec. Yeah, that's rather underwhelming. But then get that Pultec involved. And the great thing about this Pultec is that you boost. So it's an EQ, right? But it's the weirdest EQ you've ever heard about or will ever hear about. Because it's, first of all, with EQs, you're used to having it so that you can cut, right? You can cut with an EQ and you can boost, right? But in this EQ, you could only boost. So there's no cutting with this EQ. And then this EQ gives you two bands. It gives you this band over here and this band over here. This one is the low end, and you could dial in the number that you want to boost here. I have it at 30 hertz. And then you have another band up here, which I'm not using right now, and you can dial in the number that you want here, and I have it at 8K right now, but there's nothing going on. You can check the bandwidth. It's a bell pattern. But when you boost, then you have this other knob here, which says which is attenuation. And basically, what it is, it's compression. So you're boosting and you're compressing at the same time. So it's weird. So you have this kind of weird. So in normal EQs, right, you're like, okay, this bass needs more EQ. So what do? You grab an EQ and you boost the bass, right? And then you have this overgrown bass, right? Well, in this EQ, you boost the bass, but at the same time you're boosting that bass, you can compress the boosted signal that you have, and voila, you have this weird kind of, not weird good kind of caricature of the low end kind of blended in with your original, and it just makes this tight, thick, amazing sound. This is the inspiration for where we have New York compression. New York compression came from this from the use of this device. And New York compression is a technique that I don't have time to go through it today, but it's basically this: you just take the low end and then you take the high end as well, and you boost and compress the crap out of the low end and of the high end, and you blend that in with your original signal. A lot of people are doing that during mastering to get this kind of very the sheen on the top will happen with the high part, and the nice tight round bottom that you want to get on a mastered record will happen there as well. But in this case, we're just doing it here with the Pultec. If you guys don't have a Pultec, you should go get one. Sometimes Waves have these for this is the UAD version, which is my favorite, but Waves sometimes has them on sale for like $30. It's totally worth it. It's a game changer for you, those people that want to deal with low end. Let's have a look at the chat. Max says, Abe, do you ever use Soundtoys Decapitator on kicks? Yes, I do. At this point, Decapitator is probably, just to talk about Decapitator for a second, Decapitator is probably one of the best saturators, or maybe the best saturator you can get for the money. It's amazing. You can it's a saturator is a device that adds harmonics, and a lot of the vintage stuff that I pull in to work with, I pull it in just because it adds harmonics. But in the case of like just grabbing a device that's going to give you just the harmonics that you want, you can grab Decapitator. It has 5 different modes where you can work in. It has an Ampex tape mode. It has a EMI, I think, console. It has a Neve console. And it has 2 modes of the thermionic culture vulture, the triode and the pentode mode. So you can have 5 different types of saturation dialed in and just thrown right in there. So yeah, Decapitator is not only for kicks, for everything, really everything, a guitar, vocals, anything. This thing can cover all the ground. So if you guys want to check out a pretty good, not pretty good, probably one of my top 3 purposeful saturators, meaning just dedicated saturating devices, that the Decapitator would be one of them. Let's see what else is happening in the chat. Thicker, says Seth. Yes. Let's see. William Mindbender says, gorgeous TB hum. That's what I like with Ableton. It's always back on feet. Always back. Okay. I don't know what that means, but well, maybe somebody else does. Always parallel. My compress and saturate all my channels. Really fattening. Yeah. So this idea of being able to compress and boost with this Pultec is a form of parallel processing, because we're adding in parallel another version of what's going on, and not just boosting like EQ would be. Black Rooster also has one for a good price. Okay, I guess that's a saturator that we're talking about. There's a few saturators out there. There's Saturn from FabFilter. There's the actual thermionic Culture Vulture, which was created to be a saturator analog unit. But at this point, let's get back into the track. So let's and by the way, if you like what you're seeing, give me a like. I want to impress Max. Max, my boss, is in the chat. If you could see a bunch of likes in there, and maybe even hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10K. We're very close to 10K, and we're trying to get down up to 10K. So if you guys want to, help us out here, hit the like and maybe hit the subscribe button. And again, this is 343 TV. We're here every day on, at 1 o'clock. Today is my show. We have shows every week, every day of the week, including Sunday sometimes. This is the last week of this season, so we'll be off for, I think, a week. I'm not exactly sure when we're back, but this is the last show for the season for myself. Okay, let's get back in here and have a look at what else is going on. So I have that Pultec, and then I have a compressor set doing a little bit of sidechain compression. So maybe you guys noticed that over here I have a ghost track. So I like to have a ghost track that's separate from a ghost kick. So it's a kick that's going to be my sidechain trigger that's separate from my kick drum. Because if my kick drum drops out in the mix, any sidechain compression action is going to also drop out, and I kind of want to keep those together, just to show you what's going on with this ghost kick. I have a special kick that I like to use as my ghost kick. Let me just solo that for a second. And as you can tell, it's a very tight, punchy kick. This is a 707 kick from the Roland 707 drum kit that Ableton has. This kick is very it's very short and very punchy, and this is what you want from a sidechain compression trigger. You don't want a big, long, boomy kick, because you can't get any definition with it. With this, you can increase the amount or lower the threshold and play with the attack and release, and it'll be very precise. So when you have a ghost kick, use a kick of like this. It doesn't have to be exactly this kick, but I think it's my favorite. It's just a very short, very punchy, to the point kick that's going to give me that precise trigger that I'm looking for in my ghost kick. So have this bass line now. Let's see if you could hear the difference. So that's it with the ghost or kick going and sidechaining it. And what that really means is that this compressor is compressing to the ghost kick. As you can see, the kick is punching down here and making the compressor activate. So let's turn it off to show you what happens. So it's very subtle. And in this case, I really just wanted to keep it subtle. I didn't want to make it a part, because let's make it what I mean by a part, making it part of the writing process. Watch what happens if I lower this threshold now. So how it gives it more of a pump. I'll turn it off. gives it that pump. I didn't want that to happen so much as I wanted the traditional ducking technique. So this idea of what we're trying to do right now has been referred to as ducking. Ducking means sounds that get out of the way of another sound. So in this case, we have a kick drum. We want to give that kick drum priority, right? So we just let that kick drum go, and then we just get the bass line out of the way of the kick drum. So when the kick drum comes in, the bass line ducks. And this makes it so you have a better opportunity to give detail in the low end. Now you can take that to the next level and make that a pumping sort of pattern, but that would be a little more than just ducking. That would be just actually kind of writing with a sidechain compressor. But when you have that, you get this very nice pump in there, and the detail, when you go mix this, the detail will be very easy to achieve. So let's go then to the hi-hats and show you what I did. And if you remember, the hi-hats were just plain recorded 808s. Maybe I'll just pause this for a second and show you what happened with the hi-hats. And already, let me just get some of these other parts. I'll keep that bass line in there. Is that the bass line? Oh, maybe I moved it. I think I moved it. Yeah, I moved it here. Nope. Yep. It is, but I don't know why I'm not hearing it. I don't know why I'm not hearing that. It's interesting. Something is happening here. It's not letting me hear. Oh, that's the other one. Well, I don't want to mess up that mix. Whoa. Get that one. Okay, the bass line is over here. Okay. So you hear this? It sounds more raw. It's actually it's cool, but it's a bit more raw. And this hi-hat, it's just a nice recorded hi-hat that we have in there. Just to remind you where we came from and then where we went to. So let's go back to the other mix and let's play that. So just close this one and open the other one. See how much tighter everything is coming together. And now let's get that hi-hat before you forget how it sounded. And now that's very different. So Max has just saw that Max has a great question here. Abe, it seems like you're doing a lot of mixing before arranging the track. Is that your usual workflow? And if so, why? Well, yes, it is. I mean, maybe you guys don't know, but I'm one of the instructors here that teaches the mixing and mastering program. By the way, we have a class starting tomorrow. Max maybe can confirm that in the chat, but I think not tomorrow. Sorry, Monday. Not tomorrow. Monday, April 5th, we have a class starting at 7:15, mixing and mastering. You still have a chance to get in there. But there are plenty of things that get done when the mix is together, especially when after everything gets leveled. But there are plenty of things you can do prior to getting to the final mix down that will make everything much better. Like, there's no reason why not organizing your all these little bits in the mixing before you keep going, because once it starts sounding like the track, like the core of this, what I have right now, starts sounding like the track, this motivates you. It makes you feel like, wow, okay, this is it. I got something going. Let's just keep on piling on and let's just happen. And by the time you're done writing this thing and arranging it, there's maybe just 25% of the mix to do, which is always good, because if I just left it all kind of like floppy in the way it was, it wouldn't be as motivating. Right now, I can see the end of the tunnel, because I could feel like this tightness that I got going on there. This is like, this is gonna be a track. Maybe this track needs a little more kick drum here. I don't want to go over here in the red. But that's what's going on. Yeah, so Max has confirmed that Monday is the class that we're starting in mixing and mastering. William Bender says, mind readers. I always call them mind benders. I mix very early to shape the sound, glue the sound before the arrangement. Yeah, like mayonnaise. Dynamic. Dynamic is part of the way, part of the main energy. So yeah, to me, the mix is part of the writing process for me, because the texture. I was reading something about music in this age that we're in right now, and so all up until now, with classical music and all the music that has come up, up until this point, it's all been about melody and about harmony and all that. But the newest thing that music is about now is texture and tone more than anything else. So in sound design, all these new sounds, like things like, people like Skrillex become heroes of this new age of music that we're entering. So tone and texture, this is part and parcel with what it is to write these days. So I'm definitely going to continue to do that, and it's worked quite rather well for me. So let's keep going here, and let's see what we have next part. Let me show you what I did the hi-hat. So the hi-hat, what we did, and let me turn off the hi-hat processing chain here, and you could hear it. It's just basically the same hi-hat that we had on the other last week's part of this. And this is now what it became. Oh, sorry. Let me just turn that on. And okay, a couple of big things here. First, I added a little bit of sidechain compression to give it a little bit of a tiny pump. Again, I'm not trying to abuse this. I'm just really trying to get it out of the way of the kick so that we have the ducking thing going on. I could abuse it and do this if I wanted to, but I really didn't want to do that. I just wanted to give it a tiny pump, just a tiny duck out of the way of the kick. Then I added the Haas effect. Haas effect is a psychoacoustic effect that, we can go all the way back to Helmut Haas, who wrote the paper on the law first wave front in 1949 or something like that. But basically, what happens is your brain attributes presence to something that's when a waveform that comes from the same source arrives at one ear before the other, like by a few milliseconds, it makes it feel like it's huge. So, or just gives it a bigger presence. So, we can do that with a delay. What I did was I turned off the filter. I don't need the filter on for this. So, that changed it. I don't want the filter back now. Anyway, but the main idea here is that you don't want any feedback, because you don't want the repeats happening more than just once. And then you want to lower the time. You want to put left and right to time-based, and want to lower the time as low as you can go. And 1 millisecond is the lowest, so this will let you go. So you lower them to about 1 millisecond, and then once you have them at 1 millisecond, you the left, and that you take the right and you change that to another number higher than that. So we have like 8.2 seconds. Well, it says 9, but we got to eat this one here. So it's 8.27 seconds of milliseconds of a divergence between left and right ear. So this is what happens. Let me turn it off and you'll hear what I'm talking about. Ready? So it's right in the center now. And now it's to the sides. Okay, that's pretty interesting. And you get all this reverb in there that we weren't getting before, because the reverb is just concentrating on everything in the middle and just giving it to us that way. The reverb gets confused when you turn on the Haas effect, but who cares? Now we just have it on the sides, and it just feels like the hi-hats are happening here and here. And why? Well, it's the Haas effect. Anyway, so that's the Haas effect. And then I added a little bit of Redux. It's another one of my tricks for different textures and hi-hats. So if I turn this off, you'll hear that it turned cleaner, and it turned a little bit, a bit different than what we had before. And you hear now it's a little chunkier, has a little more meat to it. That's because I changed the sample rate on it. And this is wonderful. Right now we're at 20.4. But let's get it to normal, and then watch. Bring down the sample rate. And as you bring down the sample rate, you could hear different things happening to your hi-hats. Okay, that's already too much, but you can see there's so many different textures, and you got to go very slow, because the one that you want, that's why I reminded myself of the number, it can be like 0.1 points away from the other. So we had 20.4, right? Oh, no, wrong one. What was it? This 20,000. That's what it was. 20,000, not 20. So that's different than this. Just, you hear that little chunking up of the hi-hat, and that's what you need sometimes to get a hi-hat to cut through very nice and to mix in a record. One of the, I guess it's that drum machine over there, that white one, that white drum machine over there. That's the TR909. That TR909 was mostly analog, had all analog kick drums and snare and toms, all that was analog, except for the hi-hats, the cymbals, and the rides. And those were samples. And they were a whopping 6-bit, the samples. So they're very chunky hi-hats. And because of that, those hi-hats rarely ever need any processing when you drop them into a mix. You drop a TR909 hi-hat, it just cuts right through any mix. It stands firm. It doesn't have to be extra boosted or whatever. It doesn't hurt your ears. It's perfect. So sometimes with hi-hats, a lot of people try to boost the high end to make them come through. Actually, that's not what we want to do. And so this is one of my favorite things to do with hi-hats that are kind of high and thin, to make them chunky. Just add a little Redux, and off you go. So let's hear the difference between this and that, centered, and now to the sides and chunkier. And that's how they sound in the mix right now. So Luis Colon is asking what device I'm pulling the sample rate down on. This is the Redux. This is the new version of the Redux. It looks a bit different than the Redux and Ableton 10. This is Ableton 11 Redux, and I actually like it quite a lot more than the older version. So yeah, that's it. It's a core Ableton device. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's see what we have next. So some ear candy now. I took one of those parts that you might have remembered from before, and I chopped them up. I gave it some actual. Here we are. Track panning, envelope, automation here, clip automation, so that we have left-right kind of action going on. And how did I process this? Anything special? A little bit of glue compressor just to ultimately tighten it up. It was very floppy on the bottom, so I used my trick to tighten it up a lot. I didn't really want any bottom off of it anyway. I used a little more side chain than I would have normally, just to give it a rhythm. Oh, and then with this, did I do the side chain here? No, I just filtered it down. I could filter it up, and I meant to maybe when I record the arrangement, filter it up. But I didn't. I kept it there. I think that was okay. Let's keep going. So the next one, I had this kind of other part in here. Didn't process it too much, but it just took a little bit of it. I didn't take all that, the whole part. And then this, which is another part, just a small little ear candy thing. And then that. And then that. And now it's starting to sound pretty cool. Oh yeah, all this time we've been playing. That's the one part from the Poly 800. But again, I just took a little section of it and looped it instead of let that whole take go that I had before. I just took one little section and started to loop it, and that gave us this. Did I sidechain it? Let's see. Yes, I did sidechain it, but I sidechained it a different way. Oh, and by the way, I used this spectral time delay. It's super cool. If you guys haven't used this, it's spectral time delay, and also the spectral resonator. It's super cool. So check this out. I did sidechaining with this, but I didn't do it with a compressor. And here's a thing about sidechaining in Ableton and everywhere, other DAWs as well, that you don't get. A lot of people just equate sidechaining to compression. Just say, okay, sidechain compression, and then that's the end of the story for them. There's nothing beyond that story, right? Well, sidechain compression is just one way of, working with a sidechain. You can do sidechain filtering as well. That's what I did here. So sidechain filtering is a little bit tricky to explain with Ableton because it doesn't show you the movement. So basically what I have is a filter that's set here. This is a low-pass filter that's set at this point. Without the sidechain, it would just stay at this point. So I'll turn off the sidechain and I'll show you what it sounds like. Okay, but with the sidechain and with this envelope knob, I can make it either go back that way or forward. So make it, when the sidechain turns on, as the kick plays it, since it's set to the left, it's gonna pull it down this way. Pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it. If I went the other way, it's gonna push it, push it, push it, push it. So I'm gonna show you what it does now. Watch. So it's closing it. And it's giving you that kind of feeling to it. Maybe I'll add a little resonance to it. Maybe that'll be... Actually, that's nice, the resonance. And then let's let that go. And this is sidechain filtering. You could do sidechain filtering, sidechain compression. You could also do gating with sidechaining, which is interesting as well. All right, let's see what the other part is. So then we had this other part, which we also had a long take of, but I just took two separate ones. So this is just going to be this. And how did I process this? I think I used a lot of compression because I didn't want any low end on there. And on this one, by the way, I used I have a low pass filter here, but I use a high pass filter over here. So it's really just a one small band in the middle that you're hearing on the second one. But the one over here has the Haas effect going on again. I had a tiny little bit of Haas effect, 1.81 milliseconds. Now, with the Haas effect, you have to be careful because when you do actually perform the Haas effect on sounds, as you move the time of the second of the left versus the right, as you move that, you're going to get some phase cancellations happening sometimes. And that will could ruin the sound. So you got to make sure you pick a number in the Haas effect that actually doesn't destroy the core of what the sound is that you want. So right now 181, but you can see that this is getting different as I move it around. Now, in my headphones, it doesn't sound like any different. So if you're listening to this in headphones, this is going to be fine to you, right? But I was working on my studio monitors, and in my studio monitors, what I was getting was a complete phasing out in the room. So what happens is that one waveform comes out of one speaker, and then the other one comes out, and now they meet in the room, and then they meet in a delayed form, which causes a phase cancellation, and now certain parts of that sound just disappear in the room. So you got to be careful with it. You got to pick a number. And you got to do this on speakers, not in the headphones, because you won't ever catch it in the headphones. Once you do it, you'll definitely get an idea of what I'm talking about, and you'll be able to prevent these, because it's horrible if it sounds great. And that's one of the reasons why people ask me, people sometimes say to me, I could do everything I want on headphones, I don't need monitors. And I'm like, yeah, you could do probably 95% of things that you want on headphones, but something like this you'll never catch on a pair of headphones, and you'll only hear it when it actually goes to monitors, when you go to your friend's house and play it, or when you play it at the club or whatever. And then you'll realize, didn't work out as well as I thought it was. Anyway, let's get back in there and we stop preaching. So, this is what I've ended up with now. So, cool amount of parts. I wanted to write one more part for you guys today. we have time. I'm just gonna hang out. You know, it's my last show of the season. I'm gonna hang out for a little bit with you guys. So I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna do this in kind of on the fly. So I'm gonna grab analog in here, and I'm gonna do the recording the way that I did it last week. I'm just gonna try some things, and maybe pick one of the things that I like. So I want to maybe close that filter out a little bit and add some resonance. Maybe a little more filter. And then maybe shut this down. No, not the filter envelope, the amp envelope. So that I can just, that's nice. So let me add some echo to just make me feel good about it. Oh, that's good. So I'm just gonna, let me just check that my record quantization is on. It is. Now, you don't always have to do it that way. If you're a really good musician, you probably hate the fact that I'm doing it this way. But I'm an okay musician, maybe less than better, less than good. So let's try. Hold on, I'm just reading in the chat. It's hard to not read what you guys are saying. But all right, let me just start recording here, and I'm gonna go a little time and just figure out my part first. Well, just as I record. Here we go. Okay, let's see. Hopefully I got something in there that... Let's try 1 or 2 bars, maybe 2 bars. Give me a chance now to work on my sound a little better. Maybe I'll do one of these. Find the part that I want. Let me see. See how that works. That's interesting. Let's see what else I got. I'll remember that. Nah, I don't like that. That's interesting. That might be a second one. I'll just kind of make a copy of that. Option drag that, keep it. And then I'll go over here where I kind of... Alright, I got my parts. Alright, so I have all my parts now, and I don't have an arrangement. I think I erased the arrangement from before. The ones that maybe the old arrangement is there, but I don't want that old arrangement. That was just kind of to show you how I can go about trying to arrange something here. But I'm going to just try to start a hasty arrangement with all this stuff. Again, so let me just explain to you my mindset now. I have all my parts. They're all really cool and fun. Maybe I'll even map a couple of things. Just let me map the frequency on this. This will be fun to just grab my maybe this one here and grab that one there, and that way I can fool around with the frequency and resonance on this. And so now I have that, and a lot of times, and for for the sake of time, I'm not going to go around looking and mapping everything that I can right now, because this is what I would usually do. I would map everything I can imagine. Sometimes I'll even take the time to label everything so that I remember where everything is. And then I will hit record. And hitting record means now just go. Have fun. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have to do it perfectly, that I have to execute a perfect idea that I've conceptualized in my head, and then now it has to become a reality. No, it just means go have fun. And I don't care how horrible it sounds. Usually it's kind of a rough start, and then within, like, I don't know, a couple of minutes, I start to feel like I'm getting into a groove, and then, I'll keep that groove for a little while, and then I kind of lose it again. But I don't care. It doesn't cost me any money to record this stuff. Sometimes I have gone as far as half an hour just recording. Once I record the half an hour, I will usually take that and export it onto like an MP3 or something. Put it on my phone. And then I'll go somewhere and listen to it away from my studio, in my car, under a tree, sitting on the beach. And I will take notes about everything that I did through that half an hour. Some, you'll have to listen through a lot of crap, but you also will have, some magic moments happening there. And I usually try to remember or write down the times where the magic moments are and come up with a game plan. So then later I go and edit that part. So let's start at this part of the. And this is not the only way that I write. This is my favorite way to hang out with my gear and write. Sometimes when I have a melody in mind or a concept in mind, then that's a different idea. Like sometimes I have I want to write a track that is this, and this. Well, then I'll approach it a different way. Or if I'm collaborating with somebody that's a singer that has lyrics already, it's a totally different workflow. But right now we're just kind of in this jamming workflow. So let me just go ahead and start. So maybe I'll take out some of these parts to start with. So they're not necessarily, and I'll just close these filters out. So they're not necessarily coming in all from the beginning. So I'll take out everything, and I'm gonna hit record. So now it's recording. Yay! Look, I'm already creating an arrangement, but my arrangement's pretty dumb because there's nothing in it yet. So let's add something to that arrangement. Well, let's. What about that bass line? Let's see. That bass line may be interesting. Okay, that might be the way I start the track, or it may not be the way I start the track. I don't care right now. I just need anything. Maybe a kick drum and the ghost, of course. Okay, we got the rhythm going. We got the groove going. The DJ can play it now. Can mix it in. Yeah, it feels good. A lot of times I'll just get into it, and you gotta put your body into this when you do this. You gotta kind of let yourself kind of be taken away by the moment, and just be in the moment. Have fun with it. Dance if you have to. Get up and shake your booty if you have to. So here we go. Snare drum. That snare drum's a little weak, so I'm just gonna bring it up. That's gonna record automation, but I don't care. Later I can erase that automation. And I'm going to bring in that. I have two hi-hats. I forgot to show you the other variation. It's a very simple one. So I'm just doing the simple one, which is just a little open like that. And it's had some of this ear candy. That's pretty cool. Let's see what that is. Oh, that's nice. Again, no pressure. I could go take a phone call now. I could do whatever. This will just keep on going. I'll edit out whatever I don't need in it. So here we go. Just going. Drop some more stuff in there. Maybe I want one of these parts in there now. But I'll do that in conjunction with knocking out the kick drum for a second. So I'm going to try to do this. It might not work out, but I'll edit it right back. But you'll see what I'm trying to do. Ready? Yeah, that was good. And I could take that as an opportunity to drop off a couple of all these other parts. Maybe even the snare, and bring this guy back. That wasn't bad. In the meantime, I could add this one in there. It's a little loud. Let's throw the hi-hat back in there, but this time the busy one with the snare. drop some of these ear candies in there. Let's switch up on the 303. Sounds like I'm modulating it, but I'm not. I'm just changing clips. And let's turn this one on in the meantime. And now I could play with maybe dropping one of these muffled ones in there. I'm gonna drop off the hats. Drop out that. Drop out the kick drum. I'm bringing in the analog. Let's pick a kick drum. Let's add a little reverb. Let's add the second part here. Now I could just have fun. I'll drop that out again. Bring the hi-hat. Create some sort of, I don't know where I am. I'm kind of in the zone, but I'm about to fall off the zone, right? There we go. Now I can talk to you guys and let this roll for a little bit. I don't have to have pressure on me right now. I could be reading a book, all right? Or I could be, walking my dog. I could let this record. This will record as long as I want. So I can now take some chances, do some things that I would, maybe not normally do. Maybe I'll, take and do things like this, or I don't know. Play with these levels. Maybe play with this again. Get rid of that kick drum. And then get the cymbal one going. Muffled ones. Here we go. The second muffled one over here. Let's have a look over here. What's going on? I don't need to see this Pultec. Get out of my way, Pultec. So I have, this stuff is happening over here. So I'm going to stop for now. Usually I would have just been getting warmed up, to be honest with you. And I would have been trying wacky and crazy things. We're online right now. We're not, we're I don't have the latitude to just let you watch me experiment. That's not a luxury I have right now, because the experiments could go right, but they also could go wrong. But anyway, let's have a look at what's happening here on my arrangement. And look, I actually have an arrangement. Wow, this is amazing. Now, this is the part, this is the part that usually gets people really sad, because when they see a blank screen, not this part where you're looking at an arrangement, but where you see a blank screen and you have a bunch of parts, but now you have to lay these down, and you're like, oh, okay, what goes first? And you're like, well, I guess we could start with this, and then what comes next? Maybe that, and then you're like, oh, will people judge me for bringing in the snare at this bar, or will whatever? It doesn't. This is a very big monster. It scared me for many years. Every time I still see an arrangement, or the time where to do an arrangement, to start the arrangement, it really does get me. But in this way, I have now an arrangement. Now, is this going to be my final arrangement? Is this going to be the one that I keep moving forward? No, maybe it's going to change a lot. But at least I have something to look at and something to kind of work on, something to edit, something to change. Let's listen to some of this. Let's go in there and just play it where we... Yeah, that seems sounds good. Now, what I could do is, as I'm listening to it, and I'm getting different ideas, I could, hit record and overdub right onto the arrangement, and start to get some variations happening, kind of playing along with what I did already. Maybe I add another filter to another part. Maybe I filter. Is there a filter on the 303? No. Maybe I add a filter on the 303, or maybe I add another effect on something else, and then I kind of tweak that and just kind of jam along with myself. That's always a possibility. But here we have this kind of hasty arrangement that I've made in one shot, which I can organize in ways that I might want. So let's say, I don't really want this part. I hate this area here. Say I hate that area right there. I really need to get rid of that. Well, I'll just do that. I'll go to Edit, and then Delete Time, and then it's gone. Let's say I really love what happened here in this area. You only have to highlight this little bit here. Let's say I only liked what happened there. Okay, I'm just gonna duplicate time. Now I have it doubled. Now that's gonna happen twice. I can do this all day and all night with all the parts that I want in and out. I could also, and I did this last week, but I'm just kind of refreshing your memory. I could also drop markers. Now, I think I have the number 1 on my keyboard last week set up to drop markers. Yeah, there we go. It's still ready to go. So if I'm listening to something and I'm like, and this is definitely part of my process where I'm going to be listening back to the part, and then I'm going to be like, to the arrangement, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that was pretty awesome right there. I'll just make sure I get a little marker going there. And then if I want, I can come in here and rename it and call it like awesome or whatever. And that'll be, I'll remember that part from there, and I could always just jump to that point. I could even add a MIDI map it or keyboard map it. That's not that bad. Maybe a little compression on this guy, keep it in check. Maybe a actual compression. So let's get a compressor in there. Let's lower that threshold. I don't want to squish the life out of it, but just want to. Sometimes it's a little more dynamic than I want it to be. It's a little louder and quieter. Yeah, that's nice. See, when it gets really low like that, then it comes through, and when it gets super loud suddenly, it's going to. Anyway, so I got a pretty cool hasty arrangement going. I'm going to now let's look at the master. Now I'm gonna do it on this bus here. This will be the master bus for this 1 week later part of this project. I wanna add a little bus treatment to it. So I'm gonna do, I know we're over time. Don't worry about it. If you got to go, I'm sorry. But it's my last show of the season, and I want to just take a little more time and just kind of do a little more with this. So right now, what I want to do is I want to add a little mastering chain to it. I'm gonna do a hasty, word of the day, hasty, right? I want to do a hasty mastering on this. So let me just take you through the paces real quick. I'm just going to do lightning mastering round here to just kind of make this sound a little more palatable, if you will. So first thing, and if you want to learn how to do this, at a slower pace, please take my mixing course. I have one starting on Monday, April 5th, 7:15 and then we meet Monday and Wednesdays. come down and I can show you how to do all this stuff. But today I'm just going to do it really quick on this. So the first thing that I always tell my students to do is to be able to look at your sound. So have a little Spectrum device set up in there so that I can take a look at what's going on and what we're seeing, and let's see what we're seeing. And what we're seeing is nice happenings here. This is where your kick and the bass lines are, right? This is the kick and the bass line area. But there is also a lot of stuff happening down here. This is here, the 20 hertz line. What I want to do is I want to go below the 20 hertz line and remove some of the frequencies or the energy down here that we're not using. Now, this is not going to be the same advice I'm going to give you if you were making another style of music. This advice works well for 4 on the floor music, meaning kick drum is coming at you 120 BPM relentlessly, and then you have a bass line that's trying to play nice with the kick drum, and you're trying to get definition in the area where the kick and the bass are. This is the reason I'm going to do a cut there. I'm going to cut out all the low end under that. So 20 hertz is the lowest frequency we could perceive with our ears, but our bodies can actually perceive a little lower than that. But regardless, I'm going to cut it around 20 hertz just to give us that area to play with, and a lot of this, we want definition in that area. So I'm going to take an EQ. We can do it with the regular Ableton EQ, and you'll see what happens next. When I drop my EQ in there, and come on, Ableton's okay. You'll see that I already have my EQ set up with a 20 hertz cut, ready to go with the high pass filter. That is already set up. And actually, by the way, oversampling mode for EQs, that's a total must have. Same thing as the glue compressor. You have to have the oversampling mode on. You have to turn it on and then save it as your default preset. So now that's on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the Spectrum over here though. Watch what happens with the picture here. So I'm going to have the EQ off first, and look at that healthy subsonic sound that we can't use in this case because we really want to focus around here. So watch this. Look at that. It's not totally relief, but look at that. That's a lot of relief on the low end. And the lower the frequency, the more energy it needs to carry that frequency. So we save ourselves a lot of energy. I always tell my students that mixing is a lot about mixing is managing an energy economy. Basically, you're trying to cut the fat where you don't need it, and so you could place it somewhere else. So now we have that going on. Then we have the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for EQ. I'm going to make all my subs mono. So I'm going to take my utility, and in the utility there's a function that they added in Ableton 9, I think, where they let you. There's this bass mono button that you could click on, and it's set already by default to 120 hertz. That's a kind of a thing. Most mastering engineers do this by default. They take they take the master and they make sure that anything under 120 hertz, or it could be up as high as 150, maybe 100 hertz. Any of that should be in mono, not in stereo. You don't want subs that are in stereo. Because they, again, remember what I told you what happens in the room. Sub stereo information means stuff comes out of here that doesn't come out of there, out of alignment in time, and maybe you're going to get a cancellation. And that would be the worst tragedy you could ever have, is to have a cancellation on your low end, right? You could survive a cancellation in the mid-range or in the high frequency, but your low end canceled out. Not good. So we're just going to save ourselves from, or set ourselves up for a better possibility. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there and grab me a different EQ now. I'm going to grab me a fat filter EQ, and I'm going to drop it in here. It's a better EQ for what I'm about to do, which is I'm going to seek out some resonance to see if there's some stuff I can get rid of to make this track again come out and have a better presentation. And basically what I'm going to do is just take a little, I'm I'm going to take a little bell and I'll sweep it around and look for areas that are just not pleasing, like that, for example. But just to remind you guys what resonance is. Resonance is a frequency, and I always say it to my students. There's no such thing as a bad frequency. It's just that some frequencies sometimes grow bigger than they should be for their own good. So we're trying to just level it out so that they're not they present at a better place. So right now we have this kind of rubbery bottom there. This is not complimentary, but I'm gonna take a note of that and just keep on searching. And there we have another kind of rubbery frequency. And all these other ones, they're not so off-putting. I'm not going to deal with this area here. That's more sibilance. But let's go back to that first rubbery one. And I like to do a pendulum sort of method, back and forth, until I hone in exactly on where it is that the frequency is that I'm dealing with. Let me just get to a place where, yeah, that's, see, like, this stuff is nice. All this stuff is nice. But that I don't like. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to break down and relieve it a little bit there. And do it again because I heard it around 200. 200 is the area they tell you to always search for. They call it the carpet in Sweden, I heard. And ringing is usually a dead giveaway of resonance. So just a little relief there. And if I turn that off, you might be able to hear the offensiveness of it. I don't want to get crazy with it. I don't want to make a huge hole. I don't want to make another problem by, I want to relieve the pressure, not make a hole there, because it could be going the opposite and creating another problem altogether. Okay, and then now I'm going to do the sibilance. Now, mind you, I'm going fast now. If I was really mastering, I'd be taking a lot more time with this. But I just wanted to do a hasty master real quick while you guys are still watching. I'm watching the numbers. If you guys start disappearing, I'm just going to call it a day. But you guys are still here, and I'm going to miss you guys on the off part of between this and next season. So just want to grab you guys and make sure you guys are... I spend some time with you guys before we have to say goodbye. So I'm just dropping a de-esser right now, and I want to make sure I turn on that EQ. So I'm going to look for where the hi-hats and all the highs are going. And basically, I'm going to put this in all-around mode. This would be for vocal. This would be for everything. And I'm just going to look for frequencies that hurt me. And if there are none, then that's a little aggressive, but not that painful. That actually isn't that much, except maybe at this I might want to relieve just a little bit. So I'm just gonna relieve that just a little bit. Put it in oversampling mode. William Mindreader says I'm here. All right, and Two Seth is enjoying this, so I'm gonna keep going for the moment. All right, next thing is I'm going to deal with a little bit of initial bus compression, and again for the same reason that I did it before with the glue compressor. I like using the glue compressor here. So it gives me a little bit of a sonic hug, adding the saturation that it gives it. And basically, I'm really not trying to get it to compress. What I'm trying to get it to do is just give me the saturation. Give me that saturation. Give me that sonic hug, as Daniel Wyatt used to say back at Dubspot. Max is asking me when I'll be back at Berghain. Max lives in Berlin now. I used to be a resident at Berghain when Max wasn't living there. And now he's itching to go out, I guess. Alright, so a little bit of this. and really, I don't want that much. Actually, I'm going to take the attack and the release and set these wacky settings. Very slow, lazy attack, very fast release, so that it really is so lazy at catching anything, it's not going to try to compress, and if it does ever compress, it's going to let it go super fast. And then I'm going to put the ratio to 2, so it's very not really about compressing right now, as much as it is about grabbing that sonic hug. No, only saturation now, no compression. And then let's see, what we can do a lot of things at this moment. Maybe a little more saturation. Maybe I add a little bit just to give it a vintage sort of feeling. Vintage, like when I first started doing this stuff. I'm gonna add a tape machine on there. So I know that Ampex makes a pretty good tape. This is the ATR 102. I'll just drop that in there. Oh, the lower picture is covering my plugin. Okay, I don't need that lower picture. Good call there, Maya. I'll get rid of it. How about that? Let's see. This one would be... Okay, just gonna get rid of that lower picture. There you go. That should have been it. Nope. No, that was me. Sorry. Let's try this. This one. That's it. Okay. So adding a little bit of tape saturation to it, just give it that old tape feeling. I want to have 15 IPS because it's going to have a better reaction on the bottom. Again, I'm going really fast with this mastering chain. Maybe now I can maybe do some additive EQ here, some enhancer EQ. I'm going to use a... sounds pretty basic for me already. I already kind of use a lot of Pultec. Sometimes when I get mastering jobs that haven't used Pultec, I'll probably add some Pultec at this point. So I'm gonna take a I'm gonna get an API 560. Yeah, and this will let me seek out nice frequencies and nice saturated, full of saturation frequencies. Let this go. So the way this works is this adds, and this takes away, and these are the frequencies going from high to low. So I add more highs there. More highs. Not that. I don't want that. I don't want that much of that. Maybe a little bit of that. A little bit of that. Little bit of that. Yeah, a little body there. I can't imagine adding too much more low end to this right now. Not much more of that. This thing is amazing. You could. This is the UAD version of it, but you could pick up the Waves version, which I think comes with the 550 together with it, which is really great for drums. You can pick that up from Waves. They've been having these sales. You shouldn't pay more than like 29 or 39 bucks for this, but it's totally worth having. And let me... Alright, so that's a little bit of EQ there. So let's see without it. Yeah, see, that's dead, and that's alive. Dead. Alive. Oh, not alive. Now alive. Okay. So yeah, these vintage things, they make so much of a difference, and you don't have to use much of it to get what you're getting out of it. There's a thing that I like to use called the Sonics Inflator. So I think it's under Oxford in here. It's the Oxford Inflator. Inflator here. I'll drop that right in there. With this thing, it's so easy. You just raise this level here, and I'm going to exaggerate it first, and then look for the part of the curve that I like. Kind of like that. That accentuates that. Look what happens if I take it off. fills in nicely. I can play it over here. See how everything just fills in so nicely. You can hear this really well on headphones. Okay. So at this point, maybe I'll start thinking about some imaging software. So I'm going to go to the Isotope, I think, is an imager. Yeah. But I want the 7 imager. Let's see, just quickly. Yeah, the 7 imager, this is the one I want. Throw that in there. Okay, so this imager lets me look at like the low frequency. Look, this is a stick. It would, if it was more flowered out, I'd make it more of a stick. But this is the reason this is a stick is because we did this earlier in the mix. We just take this utility out. See how it opens up? This is what we did with the utility. We made it so that the low end is very much in mono, and that's what we want. And this frequency is really important for stereo component. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to open up the stereo in this more so that the image is going to come out really nice now. Watch. See? A lot of people think you have to open up the high frequencies with the imaging, but see, now it's dull. And then it opened up. And I'll do a little bit of these other frequencies, just a little bit. I don't want to cause too much sibilance here, which is what could happen if you... The air is okay, so let's see. Okay, so far so good. Let me just start putting all these in a rack so that I can start A/B'ing and seeing if these things are working. No, Max, I'm not going to save this section. I always do this in class and then I erase it. It's part of my meditation to be able to live in the moment, just like Clubhouse. So that's before, so far. And that's after. So it's a lot livelier. And we haven't even done any limiting or bus compression to it. There's a difference. So much livelier now. So let's do some bus compression. I really love the Magic Death Eye. It's probably one of the best bus compressors you can get your hands on these days. $150 if you want to get it, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. It's based off the Fairchild 670. The Fairchild 670 is awesome, but you can't really push it because it gets distorted with the low end. For dance music, it's kind of tough. So the cool thing about this is that it has a 150 hertz high pass filter. So now I can drop that in there. Now whatever I do is only going to affect the higher frequencies. So I'm going to pump it, get this going. So you only have 2 choices here. You have the 1 and the 2. These are meant for broadcast, for radio, for voice. They have really long release times. This is what they call time constants. These time constants, they're like what do you get? Combinations of attack and release. So it says you can't really play with the release and the attack individually. You just have these combinations, and these 2 are the only ones that really match for music. All the rest are really good for broadcast. Some of these are the release times is like 60 seconds, which is like ridiculous, and you really wouldn't be using that for music. There's also a secret mode in here that we can access. Sometimes you gotta try. It's a different algorithm. See which one you like better. Kind of like that one. Let's see what it sounds like without. without it. Oh yeah, look at that. This thing just tightened up and became a track. They say that bus compression makes it a record. So with that, I'm gonna add a little bit of limiting to it. And basically, the look ahead is going to prevent distortion. I'm going to tack and release around that. Maybe I'm going to get we go for a punchy algorithm here. And I'll push it a little bit. Basically, in Ableton, when looking at the master, you want to make sure that the peak. So we're going to set the peak here. We're going to set the peak and make sure, first of all, here we get this right up there. So the peak is going to be at negative 0.3, the ceiling, that is. I'll lower that a little bit so that it doesn't go over here. And what I want to see is peak and RMS kind of coming closer to each other. So I want a little bit closer. Maybe extend these to have a look closer to negative 6. So I could push this. See what it beats on. Yeah, now we're starting to feel like a track. Now let me show you what it sounds like without it. Yeah, we were happy with that before at one point. But now it sounds like a... Now the reason it's peaking over here is because I have something going on this side, on the group. Normally I'd be dropping the master in the master, the mastering chain in the master, but I dropped it there. So yeah, now that's a hasty mastering. I might start that and then, render it, go listen to it somewhere else, or come back tomorrow and listen to it then, or later on in the day when my ears are refreshed, and then I'll be able to keep on tweaking it. Normally it takes me about an hour to master a track of work. Today it took about 10-15 minutes. But anyway, that's the show for today. This is I wanted to just bang this track out real quick. I mean, of course, it's not completely finished. Of course, we could continue to tweak it. We could continue to do things, change the arrangement. I mean, this would probably be, for me, I would probably spend another week working on this, just because I like to, get into it that much. But right now you could see where my process generally takes me. Thanks for staying with me, especially this extra time that we went on the show today. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out throughout the whole season. Just make sure you come back next season and check us out. We will be, I don't know exactly when the season is beginning, but you'll get an email or you'll get an announcement. If you like what you're seeing, please give me a like. I would be nice if you guys could give me a like, and please subscribe to the channel. Also, remember, this is 343 TV. We are here. We up until now this week we'll be here every day at 1:00 tomorrow. John Selway has his techno show tomorrow. But we also run a school. This is how we actually pay for the bills with the school. If you like what you see, come down, take a class with us. Check out our website at 343labs.com. See our schedule coming up. You can take classes with us in all sorts of subjects, from Ableton, beginner, intermediate, advanced. We have Logic classes. We have classes on vocal production, mixing and mastering, sound design. I'm sure I'm leaving something out right now, but we have classes to cover anything you might want to learn. Check it out. Really, we if you like what you see now, can you imagine if we had 12 sessions to spoon feed you this stuff, And if you don't want to take a whole class, take a workshop with us. There's also we have the master classes, pro sessions, I guess we call them, that we can take. They're shorter, and there's a good way to dip your toe into the 343 pool, if you like. But please do join us. Please do come in and check us out, support us, and tell your friends. Share this with a friend, because we're here for you. And thank you once again for this season. And I will see you guys next season. Take care.